fantastic, isn't it? Okay, things are back to normal fairly soon, I would have thought. Despite me cheering on the Pies, they didn't do any better than my own lot, probably for the same reasons, based on observations from the two games. I think Super League is too lazy. NRL kill the core skills. We just let anything go.
Ian Saguna got in touch. He said, no, fist, aubergine, squirt, glory for you after tonight's game, Mark.
I think that you should have to call Sexual Congress fist, aubergine, squirt for the next week. So that when you go home tonight and, you stitch the podcast together, you put it up, you're feeling amorous, you get into bed and lie down next to your good lady wife and go, do you fancy a bit of fist, aubergine, squirt? Just see how it goes.
Should have replaced Wigan with Salford. Just rubbish they are. Alan Walker said Wigan is this is part of a longer message you sent us, which actually raised some interesting concepts. But I picked out a little bit that was relevant to this game because I thought it was good to get it in there. Alan said Wigan is a town, Brisbane is the state capital. The Warriors are as big as it gets in Super League, and the Broncos are massive, much bigger. Obviously, salary cap is an issue, but much more importantly is the budget for coaches, gyms, physios, etc. Yeah, and Wigan are probably the ones that spend the most, along with Leeds on that sort of thing. NRL can send over at least 10 teams as good. Increasingly, fan spending on the gate is less of an issue, but Broncos have so many more fans buying shirts, demanding media coverage. I'd support a World Final 1 or 2 weeks after I said the same point again. We might catch them out, but a World Club Challenge is knackered.
I think with the idea, let's get to the idea of playing it after the grand finals. I think there'd be an element of after the Lord Mayor show with that, in terms of like the teams work so hard to get to. When teams get to grand finals and win them, they've built and prepared in such a way that they're reaching their peak at that point. To then ask them to go on and play this game, I think you'd see a drop off in quality. I think you'd see heads go down. I think people would be on holiday in their life. I don't think you'd see a good game. I think you'd risk injuries and it fucks with the international calendar.
The other factor for me is you want to spread out your occasions, your events. Having it 2 weeks after a grand final doesn't do that, and we need to do that as a sport, particularly over here.
Yeah, this bookends the season quite well.
So we've got the World Club Challenge or World Club Series now. We've got the Magic Weekend, you've got the Challenge Cup final, then you've got the Grand Final, and then you'll have an international final another 7 weeks down the line from that. You're spreading out your big days, and that's what we have to do as a sport, really, because that's what it's becoming more and more about, is the big events, as people don't want to spend consistently on season tickets or what have you. But it raises some interesting points. Certainly the comparison. I mean, Wigan Leeds probably our two biggest, and Hull probably our three biggest hubs of rugby league action, let's say, in those areas around that. That takes in a little bit of the St Helens overlap, a little bit of the sort of five towns overlap, and obviously you got the two big teams in Hull, but that's being compared, like I said, to a state capital who only have one club and have all that drawing power.
It's it's infrastructure, isn't it? That's the thing. They've got the facility to develop a tremendous infrastructure.
Brian Davies said, hard to believe that Dan Sargent once played for England. Think he can safely book this year's autumn holiday without worrying that Wayne Bennett might call him up. Wigan simply weren't good enough. Chris McEwen said, have we already had Chris? He's got in touch again. Disappointed.
Yeah, you're allowed to do it more than once.
They're an excellent side, and to win we needed a perfect or almost perfect game. We were nowhere near it, that unfortunately. I had a nice pre-match pint though.
Yes, you did.
Johnny Nosecash said, top day with the Super League pod lads yesterday. Hugely disappointing result, but got Stephen to take the edge off.
Yes, exactly. Well, to be fair, I think we got Stephen before we knew that we needed to take the edge off, Johnny, if we're being totally honest, mate. But I've got a lovely picture on my phone that I'll show you later and tweet out. It's like a selfie that I took of us in the pub, and there's obviously me holding the phone, but then there's Chris, you, Johnny and Nadine as well. It's a lovely picture.
No Cass?
No, I think Cass was going to the toilet.
He kept getting edged out, bless him.
Oh, poor old Cass. He's alright. He wiggled his way back in, didn't he?
Cass's hat.
Yeah, well, this is one of the stories of the...
Right.
Shows me how pissed we all were.
We'll preface this with saying in no way do we condone this sort of behaviour, but it was fucking hilarious.
I sort of condone it, yeah. This is the lad who was cheering for Brisbane that was in front of Cass.
So similar to the experience we had at Saints with the overzealous Salford fan, there was someone who was doing similar, who was sat in front of Cass. Cass wasn't sat with us, but my uncle and my brother gleefully told us the story when we got in the car afterwards. Cass got so annoyed with this guy cheering for Salford, for Brisbane, that at some point in the first half, he grabbed this guy's hat off his head and flung it as far as he could fling it.
Brilliant.
Then a period of apparently 5 to 10 minutes passed of passive-aggressive, what's going to kick off here.
Yeah, a bit of tension.
And then it was building into potentially something, but apparently Castle sensed that actually was a bit of a dick in what he did.
Yeah.
Leant over, had a quiet word with the guy, apologised, cleared it all up, gave the guy a tenner to buy himself a new hat. So at least he showed some ability to resolve the situation.
Yeah, conflict resolution, even if you're the one that creates the conflict, then fair play.
But what an incredible story that was to hear on the way home.
Yeah, it really was.
I'm surprised that it was that good because I remember it.
Yeah, that's true. That's a mark of it. So you went home. I went on to see a band at the station and proceeded to get.
Yeah, I heard you were a bit worse for it.
I was pretty worse for it on the way home, really. But that was good. I had a thoroughly enjoyable time.
So the final one on this one goes to Darren Garner. He said defensive error. So someone we didn't manage to meet up with. Yeah.
Disappointing.
It's a shame.
We've got all this big dog talk in the week leading up to it, and then there's a no-show.
Yeah, so next time is over from all the. He can bring back more sayings to tell us that we've never heard of.
Yeah, that's it. There's an old Irish saying: every cloud has a silver lining.
Anyway, he says defensive errors and reads were huge by Wigan. Why? He likes asking himself questions and answering them. Can't you just tell us?
He writes in rhetoric, doesn't he?
It's so enjoyable. But reading it out is confusing.
It's tricky. Yeah, it's good to hear you reading it out. To be honest with you, as we've been back and forth I've tried to lead the conversation in a way that means that I finish and you kind of lead into reading Dan's Twitter. Because I didn't fancy tackling it.
So he says why? Because unlike Wigan, Brisbane had no dummy runners. Every runner expected to get the ball because every play was on all of the time. One of the early tries came from a misread by Wigan in defence. That was the Gillett try, I think he means. As the ball went out the back, but Wigan defence took the lead runner who was running with vigour. The fourth try, I think, the ball went to Brisbane lead runner, but the defence chose to target the man out the back. I think that, both occasions, not a hand was put on the try scorer. Wigan, however, called a play and played that call play no matter what Brisbane did. So the Brisbane defence easily read the situation and shut it down. This is because Wigan's dummy runners ran like they were dummies with no vigour. That was the difference. I think it's a little bit unfair on a couple of the Wigan players. I certainly think George Williams tried to inject a bit of off-the-cuff impetus a few times, and Liam Farrell found himself all over the pitch at stages during the first 20 minutes or so. And as well as setting up the try set-up, he's actually set up both tries. He created a couple of opportunities over on the opposite side of the pitch as well, so there was a little bit of that. But Wigan, like people are pointing out, play to a structure. Unfortunately, in the past, we used to still play to the structure, but the dummy runners would hold people a lot better. I think now people are so used to the dummy runners not getting the ball that they're not respecting it. It's become too predictable, and I agree with what he's saying in that, but I think the difference was far more than just that. I think Brisbane would just
different gear,
better on both sides of the ball, closing,
couldn't agree
execution
more. Okay, so on to Sunday evening then, and this one for 40 minutes was a contest, wasn't it? It was probably the closest half that we'd seen all weekend.
It led
one to believe that Leeds might be able to get a win, because at half time it was 4 apiece, courtesy to 2 poor conversions. Jonathan Thurston's, which took a fucking God's age for him to line up for him, then to miss it, and young Lily at the opposite end missing there. So 4-4 at half time.
In their defence, the wind was crazy. Did you see the reverse? Have you seen the reverse angle of Thurston's successful conversion from the touchline in the second half?
No one here is arguing that Jonathan Thurston isn't an amazing player.
But
it was just funny the amount of time he touched. Yeah. Fair enough. 4 points all at half time, everything to play for, and Leeds just capitulated. 34 unanswered points in a half against a Cowboys side that just came out and blew them off the park. Yeah,
so again the same 7 tries conceded as there was in the first 2 games, but Leeds only managed to score 1 in front of nearly 20,000 in an absolutely jam-packed Headingley Stadium.
Yeah, and there was a terrific atmosphere again in there. I love hearing the South Stand chanting and getting into it on busy games like that. They are very vocal, and it is good to hear
strong words.
I love to hear passionate rugby league fans cheering people on. That's what it should be about.
Does it not get your back up at all though when they're singing March Until It Gets Mine up a bit? I've got to be honest.
Under my breath,
I can't help it.
Under my breath, we were marching on together was on. I was still saying shite after Leeds and stuff. But one of the chants I noticed that I quite liked is that We'll Never Sit Down.
That was good. Yeah,
and I credit them for.
And I nearly would have joined in on that one. To be honest, if we were stood in the south stand,
we'll never sit down.
We could have got some air in our lungs to sing it. I'd have
stood shoulder to shoulder with them on that one. I think it's a terrible idea to redevelop the south stand like it's proposed to do. But back to the game, because yes, as much as Jonathan Thurston missed his conversion, he was his mercurial self. We could talk about every single North Queensland player in that second half because they were phenomenal, and it was almost a flawless performance, wasn't it? But Thurston was just phenomenal, absolutely wonderful to watch him in person. His kicking game, his infield kicking on a windy, rainy night, he was putting in little skimmy kicks low so they didn't catch the wind, and he was still getting them to stop on a sixpence. It was phenomenal. I haven't witnessed kicking like that live probably since, I don't know, maybe the World Cup final. He was sensational to watch, and it was weird. That was worth the entry fee for me.
They were putting them all up, all sorts of kicks as well. I also think Lachlan Coote played really well in attack, and I think he was quite well involved in a couple of the longer range effort tries. Yeah. The Kyle Felt beasting of Ryan Hall.
Oh, I was going to say that Ryan Hall got felt up.
More than.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Can you imagine if that had been Rob Burrow in it? He'd have landed him in the Carnegie stand, wouldn't he? Tremendous work.
And yeah, there was. I mean, that was all the second half. Was all that sort of stuff, and it started the second half with the poor, unfortunate error for Ash Hanley. Now,
which is a shame because he went on to field every other kick that came at him.
A lot of credit to him. I thought he made he made a mistake before the first try, didn't he? As well, the knock on. I'm pretty sure that was in the set, or in the build up. Couple of sets before certainly getting the field positions established for that North Queensland try, and I felt sorry for him because it didn't affect him.
No.
He came back and ran hard and did everything he needed to do. I think Hardacre probably had his best game I've seen from him this year.
Yeah.
But especially in the first half, and there was one break that they made between him and Hall, I think, where they made quite a lot of yards, and it was really quite good in the first half, but they weren't able to execute, and that was...
They never were.
Every time they broke a tall or anything, they just never quite could get a point where North Queensland weren't getting set within 2 plays.
It was phenomenal to see that. As much as the attacking creative play that you saw on display was impressive, actually the way that they set themselves in defence and stayed switched on at all times, Leeds never got the man over. It was either 3-on-3 or 3-on-2 in favour of the defending side.
There was a complete inability to get an overlap.
Every single time was just... It was military. They were fantastic, and it never gave them no opportunity whatsoever.
Yeah, they were still getting 2-3 men in tackles. They were closing so fast, even quicker than Brisbane were the night before, really.
Yeah.
Because Leeds probably threw a little bit more. And the player I was disappointed with from Leeds' perspective was Adam Cuthbertson. I think he just threw speculative balls and didn't really have an aim to his game anymore. He seems to have not be achieving what he was achieving last year. I don't know if that's because he hasn't got other people next to him that are doing all the hard work that's giving him more space to look like the glory boy
and get the offload away.
But I do feel like he's
the offloads
not
he got
setting
away
the platform. He was just throwing
didn't lead to anything. They weren't going into space. They were just going to people. But then there was no platform. There was
they weren't going to people, Tom.
Yeah, true. Some
of them.
Yeah.
And Leeds lost.
You legislate for a certain amount of drop ball when you get a guy who plays that way, and he's obviously encouraged to do so. But because I think Leeds are missing some of that oomph in the first and second play the balls, then defences aren't on the back foot and the space isn't there for them to get these offloads away to guys running in. The guys are running in, but our defensive line's better set, and they're not having the impact that they would have done last season.
But there were a few times, weren't there, in a game where you felt like Leeds were going to score. There was a Galloway run where we were down the other end, obviously on the open terrace, but you thought he was going to score, and all of a sudden, no, not a chance.
Yeah.
There was a few plays that went out to the Cowboys' right defence, Leeds left attack, so potent out there with Hall and Moon, shut down, completely shut down, and it was just, I guess from a Leeds fan, frustrating to watch that first half because Leeds had a lot of position. They were winning the penalty count quite bigger in the first half. I felt it evened out more as the game went on. I think, but then the Cowboys just
came out and turned it on.
I mean, they took advantage of the mistake like the other two teams had done the nights before, and then just scored some really good tries. I can't even remember who scored the try down the middle near the end with the offloads in and out. Coote was involved. I don't know if he scored it in the end. He might have done, I think.
Yeah, he got on the scoreboard, didn't he? Coote. No, phenomenal individual first. And for a half of rugby league they were just astounding, and it was a microcosm of the rest of the weekend. Mistakes get punished every single time, and if you're not on your game, if you miss your assignment, if you miss your marker, you get punished.
The only time they weren't really, on top of everything that was going on and on the guard was when Mitch Garbutt laid out James
Creased out James Tarmo as well, like.